Today on the breakfast, General Overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Pastor Enoch Adeboye, says he does not know if there will be elections in 2023, considering spate of insecurity ravaging the country. We will look at the implications of all of these concerns raised.
Former President Olusegun Obasanjo expressed worry over the level of insecurity in the country, saying it calls for concerns and efforts among citizens to reverse the trend.
And like always, we will be reviewing the biggest stories making headlines across major dailies in the country. Good morning, this is The Breakfast on PlusTvAfrica. I am Justin Akadonye.
I am Messi Boko. Beautiful morning to you, and promises to be a fantastic, time of conversation right here on The Breakfast. 2 hours, just stay with us.
Yeah, just stay with us for an exciting package. We have some topical issues we will be looking at on the show this morning. Insecurity is an ever-present worrying issues for us as Nigerians. And of course, we'll look at something different, the role of religion in politics and all of that. But before we get into all of that, let's just take some stories that are really trending across various spaces in the nation. The General Overseer, that the GO, like he's popularly called, of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Pastor Enoch Adeboye, is in the news. Yesterday, he addressed his congregants, and he was talking about concerns for the 2023 elections. He also talked about issues of economy and bankruptcy if Nigeria does not really caution itself over borrowing and spending and all of that. But specifically, he said that politics is not his calling. He says he should not be, or people should not distract his attention. That's what he was quoted as saying. But we'll take a soundbite and we'll come back and talk more about that.
As of now, as I'm standing before you, I still don't know whether or not there will be an election next year. Don't say that Pastor Adeboye said there will be no election next year. That's not what I said. What was it I said? Adeboye does not know yet. Put the word yet. How come you don't know? Because my father hasn't talked to me about it at all. The last time we had an election, he spoke to me about the election by June of the previous year. And this is April. So it's not late. But he hasn't told me yet. He might have told you, some of you are prophets. You are closer to him. But is there any one of you here who can raise your hand to heaven and say, without any doubt, there will be an election in 2023? If you can tell us, stand up and we will clap for a prophet. I don't know yet. Remember to put the word. It's in the news. More than 80% of the oil we are producing is being stolen. You didn't read that in the news? More than 80% of all the oil we are producing is being stolen. And nobody had denied it. It came from the government. That leads me to several questions. Number one, who is the one stealing the oil? Number two, where is the money going to? 80% of what should have been the income of a nation is going to the hand of some people. That's a lot of money, man. What do they want to do with the money? That's question number 3. Question number 4. Who are the foreign nations buying this stolen oil? Question number 5. How many of these nations of the world are your friends? So you can see the reason why I'm not thinking of 2023. Maybe that's why God has not spoken to me about that, because there is a lot to deal with now.
Welcome back. That was the General Overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Pastor Enoch Adeboye, just raising concerns concerning the 2023 election. And he also talked about the state of the nation's economy. Mercy, over time, people have been asking men of God, to get involved in politics. That since they're closer to God, they tend to hear what he says, and that they should be the better ones to govern the people. It's just a school of thought. How do you reason that?
Well, the truth is, we probably are where we are today because a lot of persons have, thought to themselves and said to themselves, it's not my business. So the major threat to democracy for Nigeria is political apathy. And that's, really, really sad. Wherever, different quarters, different sentiment, however you want to look at it. When governments, when there's a government policy, when government does something or government chooses not to do something, it affects everybody. So if there's a policy, usually you hear a lot of people say, oh, we don't operate the economy of this world. We do operate the economy of this world. And so if government comes with policies, it would affect you as long as you're flesh and blood here. So, but one would probably understand, the premise on which the geo was coming from. I'm a spiritual father. But if you want to look at antecedent, you begin to query yourself, what's changing right now? Yes, it might not be you being involved in campaigning and asking people to vote for you. But we've seen it a couple of times. I mean, there was once upon a time you have men of God. For instance, Jonathan, even, the geo himself has visited the president. And that might not necessarily be, but the fact that you even visit, that's still part of politics. That you're there with the president is a lot. So I really don't know what has actually changed, but for the fact that we have a lot of people saying that it's not my business, let's leave it. We're dealing with this, and that has brought us to where we are. So there's a lot of reaction. This has generated a lot of reaction in the space. There's a lot of, several persons are criticizing the General Overseer, that's Pastor Adeboye, regarding his thoughts on this particular issue. As much as one would want to understand, but you also need to we also need to understand the fact that yes, voting is actually a right, and so the argument surrounding that is whether or not you can choose to use the right. I mean, it's not compulsory, so you can vote, but he has a lot of following. He has a huge following. So in the other term you will want to say he's an influencer. When you say that it's not my business, I mean, don't distract me with it, because a lot of persons, the people who are vying for political office are my children, I can't vote for another. Because he talked about not voting. It was not also captured in the audio, but it was also part of, the thoughts that was put out. The point here is this: as much as everyone has a right to say, okay, I have a right, but I don't want to use it because it's not a compulsory right, then a lot of persons would follow. So we're dealing with political apathy. 2023, and we're trying to say, go ahead.
What I actually got from all of that, in as much as he said that he was not partisan, he said that he's not really, that's what he said, one of the things I got out of that, but he still encouraged Nigerians to come out and vote, but they should not distract him as per who he is supporting, basically. But the fact is that it is their responsibility, their civic obligation to come out to vote, so they should actually exercise.
But he also talked about the fact that he's not necessarily going to vote, or he doesn't vote for them because he thinks that all of them are his children. At all levels, are you saying that those who contest the elections at every level are members of your church?
Let me paint a scenario right now. For instance, he has three of his church members who are actually participating for different political parties. If he were to vote, who would he vote for?
So you will vote for the one that you have to vote for. I mean, there's sometimes some people would say, some people would say there are some things that are better just left unsaid, right? Number one point is the fact that we're governed in bits and pieces. As a society, as a country that we are, Nigeria, we're governed in different parts and bodies. And so you have, different sector, you have organization. And religion has a major role, whether or not we want to believe. And so, like I mentioned, yesterday he was on the top charts of the conversation. It just shows you that he's very influential.
Yes,
and so he has a lot of followings. And so what he would say, for instance, he's saying, okay, because I have several children and I don't want to be distracted, and for whatever reason, there are a lot of persons that automatically by that statement, we probably would have lost 1 or 2 voters or 3, if not more than that. And I'm saying that we're at a point where we're dealing with political apathy. We're dealing with, voter apathy. So it's a lot. We need to be very conscious. We need to be very, very sensitive and be very deliberate. But I bring you back to the fact that what happened to those times where you had political leaders visiting you? For instance, Jonathan at the time visited his church and he was praying for him. We've also had incidents where he's visited the president, the current president.
All right.
And so it calls for a lot. But I'm just saying that we need to understand that before we are anything, before you're APC, PDP, before you're a religious leader or traditional ruler, you're a Nigerian. And as much as it's not compulsory, because voting is not necessarily compulsory, it's your right. I mean, it's a right, but it doesn't... we should also understand that as Nigerians, we have a civic responsibility. We have a role to play.
Yes, we do.
Amongst others.
Well, I understand that we have to move away from that particular story. Also, trending again is still on religion. Chief Imam of Abuja, popular scholar, Islamic scholar, was suspended because, according to report, he made an anti-Buhari comment. Messi, it still goes back to the role of religion and politics, religion and nation building. The fact is that everyone is entitled to his opinion. It might not be favorable, it might not be popular, but like you said, sometimes there's some things that are better left unsaid. But then, if things are not really right, just because you are a religious leader doesn't mean that you cannot speak out about some societal ills or some concerns that you have. Well, specifically, he talked about how the president has not visited Kaduna since the train attack. He also talked about why the emphasis Nigerians should be placing would be on their protection. That right now most of the leaders are just talking about 2023, and they have actually pushed the governance and the protection of lives to the front burner, and their main concern yet again is controlling the machinery of government next year.
So it's really sad, and I would just continue with the thought that I had prior to this time. The thought is,
sorry, before you raise the thought, I've just been told that we need to take the track before we go any further. Let's take that track and we'll come back and talk some more.
Yes, we are going to vote in 2023, but under condition that there must be security in Nigeria. Period to that, we are not going out to vote anything. If that's the only language you understand, we're going to speak it. Because our lives are important. We are people. We want to live. And our dignity is important as well. Our wealth is important. Every part and bit of us is important. Therefore, you must do something to scare our life and to make our security workable. We can't afford to be moving like this. People bombing our trains, killing our people, kidnapping our people as if there is no government in the country. They can gather information, they can gather intelligence information, they can dispatch information, they can dispatch intelligence information as if they are government of their own. While our government cannot share intelligence information and stop the rubbish on our ways. We can't afford it. I said it, we can't afford it. We need something better than this. And we deserve that thing better than this. We're going to pray. But we have to tell you the truth. That corruption is everywhere. That is why we are seeing this. And you have to do something about it. And you, the citizens, have to start praying. Yeah.
All right, welcome back there. You just heard him giving his impassioned speech concerning the state of security. In as much as I agree with him, you know, sometimes I really don't get the place of religion in all of this. Sometimes it seems to take things to the extreme. Well, I don't want to sound like a bigot right now, but the fact is that I feel that he's entitled to his opinion, and what he's saying so far, I mean, we could actually all relate to it. It's very relatable, and he's talking about you know, the life of an average Nigerian, which should be worth, you know, millions. You know, so the government should actually focus on that. Well, maybe it goes against religion, but in my opinion.
Wait, why does he go against religion?
I don't understand.
So first of all, religion, I mean, if you're not a human being, no, if you're not a human being, I mean, we need to understand this. We exist in a space as human beings. Before, you know, you're a Nigerian, you're a citizen. Before you begin to say, "Oh, I belong to a certain religion, I believe X, Y, Z." You belong somewhere, and that's what we're talking about. And we're saying, if you even look at it constitutionally, he has a right. He has a right to express that.
Everyone does.
He has a right, you know, to freedom of expression, and to put out complaints. And we also need to understand where government got their rights from. This is very fundamental to us. It's because of the fact that people gave their will. I constantly say that. When the social contract has been broken, the agreement, which is a relationship between government and the people, is broken, then it means that the people, there's always something. And so, you know, Marx would be the one that would say that. It sounds very, you know, like it's a theology or very theological kind of stuff right now this morning. But that's the truth. And that's why you're having all of this agitation, this anger, and, you know, but the things that he has said, has he spoken a lie? He's not spoken any lie. He's a human being. Realistic. He exists in Nigeria. The fact that he's an Imam does not even exempt him from being killed, does not exempt him from the ills that are happening, from being kidnapped. And so what are we talking about? But it's quite unfortunate that we constantly say that, you know, there's no, before we have religion, what are we first? Where do we operate? In what space is religion operating? Religion is not operating outside of, you know, Nigeria. It's operating in a space or in an entity. There's a space. So I really do not understand. But of course, it's, you know, this would constantly continue. As a people, it would always be, you know, one of the things. But I really do not see anything wrong that he said. No, he's spoken the truth. The issue of security is a concern. He's worried about his life as a person and the lives of other Nigerians and his followers. And so, but we will be here until we get to the point where we understand that we're human beings, first of all, we're Nigerians, before we're any other thing.
All right, very quickly we'll take the last top trending. Governor Yahaya Bello, some people call him GYB, is in the news. This time around, he's saying that he's going to make about 20 million Nigerians a millionaire if he's elected into power, and that has actually generated lots of reactions. People were talking about, you know, that before you start talking about bigger dreams and you know, tall tales, as it were, you should look inward. You look at your own state. People express concern that you know, there's still poverty in Kogi State, which is his main constituency right now. He's the governor of Kogi State. You know, I went through Twitter to get some reactions, and a lot of people were just talking. A lot of, you know, tongues were just, you know, wagging over this issue because they feel that you shouldn't just come and start making, you know, electioneering gimmicks as it is, that you want to make 20 million Nigerians millionaires if you are elected into power. Why don't you do that right now? Must you wait before you are elected governor, before you make 20 million Nigerians millionaire? What about the average Kogi resident that your primary responsibility, what have you done for them? Are they all smiling with you? Are they all well-to-do? Are they millionaires? in their own light? Mercy.
So it's just normal that all of these statements will actually come out. Usually we're used to all of these proclamations, declaration, policy statement, usually when it's time for elections. So, but the big question we should be looking at now, and I think that for 2023 should not be the same as every other. It should be a game changer for our democracy if Nigerians wake up to that fact that we can't, it shouldn't be business as usual where anyone would come and say, hey, I remember that once upon a time, we had a president who made a proclamation, if I'm not mistaken, in 1975, and he said he was going to make, Nigeria was going to be, great and fantastic. But the question is how? So how does he intend to achieve this? Make us, make 20 million Nigerians millionaires. Are we going to have monies being printed? Are we going to print the money? Because the value of the naira has depreciated. No, but so we're just understanding the question is how. It's okay to have all of this policy statement, but it's dependent on Nigerians and citizens to question, how all of this would be achieved. There needs to be a plan.
There needs to be a blueprint somehow. Because you just don't come out to make a statement just because it is an election year. It should start. It should be your everyday plan. It should be something about meeting the needs of people every day. Don't wait till 2022 when you might get the presidency. That's as much as we can take on Top Trending for this Monday morning on the breakfast. We'll take a quick break and we will be reviewing the front pages of major dailies with an analyst in a moment. Stay with us.